Holy fuck. Thanks to heaven. Now let me show you one last step for this. This is completely deterministic. You cannot roll attack mods, which I don't have because, well, I am stupid. This happened to me last time also. That time I did not have the prefix cannot be chain modifier. This time I don't have the cannot roll attack modifier. Greetings, Exile. It's me, the guy who makes off-meta trash builds that nobody asks for. But today, I'm not here to show you one of my trash builds. Instead, I'm here to fulfill a promise. A promise I made in my last video. I promised you guys a full axe crafting guide if that video managed to reach 100 likes. And well, it did. So here it is. A guide that covers everything from the cheapest craft to the expensive one. Whether you have 2 divines to your name or 200, we have something for everyone. Let's start with the cheapest craft first. For this, all you need is an Elder Influence axe of your choice and several Deafening Essence of Contempt. Just make sure the item level of the axe is at least 83. Now, we're going to spam Deafening Essence of Contempt until we hit T1 or T2 Elder prefix that grants damage over time multiplier for bleeding. After that, we will check for one open prefix and at least one open suffix. If we don't have them, we need to use a orb of annulment and try to remove the unwanted modifier to open up a prefix and a suffix. But if you hit any of the modifiers that you need, you will have no choice but to restart the craft. Once you have an open prefix and at least one open suffix, craft prefixes cannot be changed from the crafting bench. Then take a wheeled chaos orb with you and head to the All-Flame crafting station. Put in your axe and the wheeled chaos orb. Then begin the craft. Now you will get to select from 4 options, out of which at least one should have a wheeled prefix. Select the one you think is the best and has a wheeled prefix. Then right click it to unveil it and take the modifier that grants hybrid increase physical damage. For the last step, craft physical damage over time multiplier from the crafting bench. If you still have an open suffix, you can do a little bit more crafting by slamming an exalted orb at the All-Flame crafting station.
Kill a Templar or 2 for me.
Now let's move on to a craft that is a little bit more expensive. For this we will need a normal magic base axe with T1 flat physical and an elder base axe with T1 damage over time multiplier for bleeding. Make sure that both bases are of the same type. For example, if one base is a siege axe, the other one should also be a siege axe. You can easily search for bases with T1 flat physical using this configuration. All you need to do is set the item rarity to magic and search for physical damage to attacks with value of 34. And you will only find bases with T1 flat physical. This can save you from the headache of rolling it yourself with alteration orbs and is very cost efficient too. For the other base, we're going to roll T1 damage over time multiplier for bleeding using alteration orbs. After that, we're going to turn our magic flat physical base into a rare item using a regal orb. If you get a prefix with the regal slam, you need to annul it off, as we only want one prefix. Then we will craft increased physical damage using the crafting bench. This will block all the increased physical damage modifiers from appearing and will come in most handy for our next step. We are going to slam an Elder Exalted Orb, which now can have only 2 outcomes if it hits a prefix: bleeding damage over time multiplier and poison damage over time multiplier. This can complete our craft much earlier if it hits bleeding, and if it hits poison, we will try to annul it off. But even if it hits a suffix, it's perfectly fine, as we already have prepared for the next step. Once we turn our axe into an elder item, we're going to put both axes in the recombinator and combine them using the unpredictable method. This can take up to 3 tries depending on your luck. Let's see. And we lost the flat physical. We just simply recombinate and hoping these 2 modifiers on the same weapon. And we got perfect. Once we have the 2 modifiers we need together, we're going to do the same thing we did for the cheap craft. We're going to craft prefixes cannot be changed and then slam a wheeled chaos orb at the All-Flame crafting station. But if you want to be on the safer side, you can also use a wheeled exalted orb instead of a wheeled chaos orb, which removes the risk of filling up all the suffixes. But don't worry, even if you fill up all your suffixes, you can always try your luck with the orb of annulment at the All-Flame crafting station. With this, you will have an axe that is slightly better than the cheap one. Now let's move on to the most expensive and most frustrating crafting method. For this, we will need a magic base with T1 flat physical damage. This base should be the one that you actually want. along with another base that only has T1 increased physical damage. Make sure that both bases are non-influenced and non-fractured. Similar to flat physical, you can use this configuration to easily find bases with T1 increased physical damage. All you need to do is search for 171 to 179% increased physical damage and add a not stat for local accuracy rating. This will only show bases that have the merciless modifier. You can either use magic bases or even separate the modifier from rare bases using a Krishara's Ducket. It will split into 4 ghostly copies and hopefully we get one of these, but it can fail, right? It has a high chance of like messing up.
Don't waste.
2 of the same modifiers here, 20%, 20%, and but we separated. Luckily. Wait, 3 fucking 20% and 1. Wow. Next, we're going to recombine these mods together, which can take up to several tries, as we are not just trying to get the both modifiers together, we are also trying to get them on the correct base. So be patient, you will hit it eventually. If we try to like directly do this, it's only as a like a 4% chance, so we can't do that. We'll do it the other way. Hopefully it selects the Reaver Axe and we get both modifiers together. Recombinate, and we lost the bloody modifier. Hopefully this selects the Reaver base and we get both mods together. Hopefully. It selected the fucking wrong base, but at least we have the mods together, so we can go again. If this also has a flat physical and this also has a flat physical, it's a higher chance now that both of these will appear, but it has to select the correct base now. It should select the Reaver Axe. That's what we exactly want. Did it work? It did not work and we lost the fucking modifier. Don't fail me now. And it failed. Okay. Nope.
2,000 years later.
And finally we have it. Whew. Step 1 is complete, bro. Once we have the both modifiers together, we're going to craft a random prefix to block the prefixes. Then we're going to slam exalted ops until we only have a one open suffix. After that, craft any suffix and head to the Allfib crafting station with the Elder Exalted Orb in your hand. Pop in the axe and the orb together to begin the craft. This will give us 2 options with different tiers of bleeding or poison damage over time multiplier. In my case, I got T3 and T2 bleeding, so I settled for the T2. But let's say you get only poison as both options. Well, that's really tough luck. The only thing you can do now is try to salvage the craft by recombining it with the axe that already has T1 flat physical damage and bleeding damage over time multiplier. Once you have the bleeding modifier, your prefixes are done. So now it's time for the suffixes. And let me warn you, this is going to be the most expensive and most frustrating part of the entire craft. I personally like to call this part of the craft pure currency dumpster fire. Prepare yourself, you're about to experience the 5 stages of grief. We are going to start by crafting prefixes cannot be changed. Then we're going to head to the Haughty crafting station, or as people like to call it, the harvest bench, and use Reforge physical. Then we will check whether we hit the modifier that grants culling strike against bleeding enemies. If it's not there, we're going to craft prefixes cannot be changed again and repeat the whole process again and again until we hit it. Make sure you always like double check it that you have the craft on it before like doing a reforge. Because if you lose it here, you're gonna be pretty mad. We got the same fucking modifier. You're doing it again. This is 6 divines down, not the drain. Reforge physical. Okay, hopefully it does not fill up. We got chaos again, 3 times in a row. Can we change? It has a 1 out of 12 chance to fill up completely. So let's hope it does not happen. And we got chaos again. Physical. And it's, well, dual wielding. Culling Strike has the same weightage as all other modifiers, but it's not appearing. Every other shit modifier is appearing. This is so sad. It is just like toying with me now. Like, it's not filling up. It's just giving me the constant middle finger. Like, fuck you, and fuck you. Again, I'm pretty fucking sure there's a hidden weightage behind this one. Like, it can't be happening. Like, I've already done 20 of these. I had 88, I'm down to 40 divines. Now the only thing that is left for this to happen is for this to fill up completely, and that is gonna happen because it's 1 out of 12 and I've gone way past that.
One eternity later.
Holy fuck. Thanks to heaven. It finally appeared. It took me 24 tries to hit the modifier, and every single try was a 2 divine burn. I would say I was both lucky and unlucky at the same time, as there is a 1 in 12 chance to fill up all your suffixes during this reforging process, which will completely break the craft. And the only way to salvage it is to use an overfunnelment at the all-flame crafting station and hope for the best. Once we have the culling modifier, we need to make sure it's the only suffix on the item. If there's another modifier, check what tag it has. If it has a non-attack tag, we can safely remove it by crafting cannot roll attack modifiers and using an overfunnelment. But if it has an attack tag, our only option is to craft prefixes cannot be changed and try to annul the unwanted modifier at the all-flame crafting station. Now for the last and most deterministic step. All we need to do is craft cannot roll attack modifiers, close our eyes and slam Exalted off, and then check whether we hit a damage over time multiplier or not. If it's not there, use a overfunnelment to remove the unwanted modifier and check whether it removed the unwanted modifier or the crafted cannot roll attack modifiers. If it removed the crafted modifier, simply craft it again and repeat the process until you hit damage over time multiplier. We annul it and it got removed, but there's also a chance that this modifier can also get removed. So we do the same stuff again. We do cannot global critical strike multiplier. We don't want that. Yeah, I won't double annul it. Don't worry about that. I kept my Pega fingers at home. Because if I did that, it would make for a clip, but it would like completely mess up my mind.
A few moments later.
This is T4. But I'm out of currency. I'm pretty sure, so this is fine. Like, you could hit T1. This is all based on RNG. This has the same weightage. Yeah, I'm gonna just keep it for now. Later on I will replace it, change it, everything. But for now, I'm just gonna keep it. Look at this, like this has the same weightage. All of them are 300. In my case, I only got T4 damage over time multiplier, which isn't ideal, but I was running out of currency, so I settled for it. Lastly, craft physical damage over time multiplier at the crafting bin. With this, we have our kind of perfect bleed axe. I would love to make more crafting guides like this, but only if people want them. So this time, I'm going to set the bar even higher. If this video somehow manages to get 250 likes within its first week, I will make a crafting guide covering every single piece of gear a bleed gladiator would need. But I'm pretty sure it's never gonna happen, so I probably won't need to make any more guides. If you found this guide helpful, make sure to leave a like and even share it with your friends. As always, thanks for watching Exile.